Hey yo, Quantic, run them bands up. Hey yo, Quantic, run them bands up. Hey yo, Quantic, run them bands up. Hey, yo, Quantic, run them bands up. Hey, yo, Quantic, run them bands up. Hey, yo, Quantic, run them bands up.
There's nothing left but the fire in my chest and the air that fills my lungs. I'll hold my tears and trade my ears for a glimpse at kingdom come. On the other side of misery, there's a world we long to see. The strife we share will take us there to relief and sovereignty. Oh my God, we'll have our home again. My God, we'll have our home. By blood or sweat, we'll get there yet. My God, we'll have our home. In our own towns, we're foreigners now. Our names are spat and cursed. The headline smack of another attack, not the last and not the worst. Oh, my fathers, they look down on me. I wonder what they feel to see their noble sons driven down beneath a coward's heel. Oh, my God, we'll have our home again. My God, we'll have our home. By blood or sweat, we'll get there yet. My God, we'll have our home. The road is dark, the way is lost. My eyes, they strain to see. I struggle forth to find a friend to light the way for me. Oh, brothers, can you hear my voice, or am I all alone? If there's no fire to guide my way, then I will start my own. Oh, my God, we'll have our home again. My God, we'll have our home. By blood or sweat, we'll get there yet. My God, we'll have our home. Oh, my God, we'll have our home again. My God, we'll have our home. By blood or sweat, we'll get there yet. My God, we'll have our home.
I like that song. I feel like some people are going to be terrorized by that song in the future. One day this will make the news. Thousands of white men were chanting and marching down Main Street. Welcome to the show. Welcome. Hit that like button as you make your way in. I think we got something interesting for you guys tonight. I working on a new thing here. I don't know who this Asmongold guy is in particular. I recently heard of him. I know he's like the biggest YouTuber from what I understand. He's got like the top channel on YouTube, but I don't really know like what he does, what he's about or anything. And I kind of was briefly getting familiar with his content just today, just watching this video. And it seems like he's a little bit left-leaning, perhaps. I don't think he's on the right, but he seems fairly honest. I'll give him that. So, you know, whatever his political leanings are, I'll give him credit for his honesty, which is why he dropped a video recently that I really wanted to review. And he's talking about what I think he called it. I don't know if he's coining this phrase himself, but Rust Belt revenge. And I like that concept. And I think this video that we just played, this By God We'll Have Our Home Again, that whole song, and even the imagery, a couple of the still shots were literally images of the dead Rust Belt. And there are a lot of people who are feeling a wave of discontent. Let's call it that.
Big, beautiful tent. Why don't you stay for a minute? Spend the night. Former House Speaker K-Mac is here. All right, K-Mac, what opportunity do you see here for Republicans and for the country when the Democrats are in such disarray?
Well, what you see is not just President Trump win the election, he actually broke the Democrats. Think about this. The Democrats are now protesting electric vehicles. They're at the lowest favorability. They're a minority view in the Supreme Court. They can't stop any legislation. But this is the key part.
We got them on the ropes, boys. The Democrats are on the ropes right now. I don't think they've ever been in such disarray. Like, you would literally have to go back generations.
Gen Z, the young population, is not only probably one of the most conservative generations since the 80s, they're pro-Trump, but they're also anti-Democrat. The Hispanic population trending Republican. And then look to the future. There's only 3 Republicans sitting in seats in the House that Harris carried. 8 years ago, there was 23. It's a bad Senate map for the Democrats. And then the Electoral College. Their liberal policies are making people move out of these blue states. You said it. It's almost going to be impossible for the Democrats to win the presidency. They can win Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, and they would still lose. And they still haven't woken up that they don't realize their policies are what driving people crazy. Bill Maher says it every week.
You know, I think I might review some of that later. I'm not going to just blame this on liberals, because Republicans have definitely helped hollow out the Rust Belt. But what's happened to the country over generations, within my lifetime, I was born in 81, getting old now, and the changes that have taken place, the drastic changes to the landscape of the United States that have taken place in my lifetime, have not just happened as a part of some natural cycle that befalls nations as they rise and fall. It has been very much policy driven. Government policy, economic policy, corporate policy. It's been a series of decisions made against the best interest of the average American voter. And the youngins, you know, that a few years ago, you noticed this term popping up, and it's a term meant to kind of convey a bit of denigration. The term boomers. You remember "okay boomer" was a popular term a couple of years back, and now, in political context, the term boomer is always thrown around in the sense of the boomers did us dirty. The boomers, they didn't leave anything for the next generation. The boomers were greedy. The boomers were selfish. Like, it's become this thing. And I noticed something interesting with the protests lately, like with the Elon Musk thing and all the stuff going on right now. Because Black America, a lot of the blacks, I don't know if you noticed this, but back when Kamala first lost, there was this little wave going around on the internet where Black folk were like, look, we're done protesting. We're sitting this one out. We're going to focus on me. Not going to do any of this political water carrying for the liberal movement. I feel like you guys betrayed us or whatever. So the Black movement, the Black vote said they weren't going to do anything. And so now all the protesters are a bunch of white boomers. And it's a spectacle. It's an interesting spectacle. And on the other side of that, though, you have the opposite of boomers, right? Gen Z. Gen Z is a different group of people. They're not out there protesting, burning Teslas and whatnot, apparently.
I'm at the protest right now in New York City, anti-Trump, anti-fascist protests, and I have one question. Where the fuck is Gen Z? These people are cheering, they're talking like it's just the 60s, it's just like the 60s, and they're having conversations and walking slowly. There's no fight here. There's no youth here. It's all 30-somethings and their children. And then seniors, and God bless everybody who showed up today, but I'm really fucking disappointed in the youth turnout. Where is the youth turnout? This is your future that is going to be impacted by the actions of the Trump administration. And it's really this easy to show up in numbers and show your government that they're outnumbered. That is the point of a protest, to show that your government, that they are outnumbered. And if Trump leads you to believe that protesting does nothing, then this is what we get. We get a crowd of 30-somethings and their children and seniors, and barely any teenagers ever. Like, these, oh my God, I can't even. Like, where are you going if you're not going to the protest right now? What's more important?
Oh, that's sad. She thought her little protest was important. She thought people cared about her issues. She thought the boys would show up and help out.
My show had value, and that, I'm sorry, that what I was doing had value.
So we've been talking about this for a little while now. The most decidedly liberal group is young women. Women, generally speaking, are furthest to the left. And it's the young men, their young male counterparts, that are just standoffishly more and more right wing. And there are reasons for that. You know, boomers, they want their 401ks and their stocks to do well. They want to drive around in their RVs and show up to their little boutique protest issues, and that's their life, right? And then, you know, women, they want girl boss freedom. But young men, apparently they want jobs and maybe a wife they can trust. And it seems like these things aren't really on the table all that much for the Gen Zs, and they appear to be checking out, because, you know, the economics aren't looking right. And what Trump and his new team are attempting to do, I guess, is carve out the cancerous tissue of America's economic strategy. And, you know, any cancer treatment, especially removing tumors and whatnot, it's going to be a little painful. There will be damage. There will be some healing and recovery. But the argument is, you know, you take your medicine, and then you heal up and things get great. Or you can just walk around with tumors in your forehead and, you know, see how that works. And so we're cutting out the tumors.
And just keep issuing a working. Would have been really fun for me to come in and just keep issuing a lot of debt. And, you know, it's almost like a bodybuilder is taking steroids. Outside looks great. You know, you're muscular. Inside, you're killing your vital organs. Yeah. That's what was going on here. But it would have been easy to keep pumping up the economy, borrowing a lot of money, creating a lot of government jobs. There was no controversy when we're doing all that. But you were going to end up in a calamity. If you go back and look, you look at the financial crisis in 07, 08, economy looked great right up until then. You go back and you look at the end of the dot-com bubble, and then the whole credit problem with the fraud at WorldCom, Enron, some other companies. Economy looked great until it didn't. And I think one of the things that we won't get credit for, but that this administration will have done, is avoiding a financial calamity.
And I think, you know, you like you said, you wouldn't get credit for that kind of thing, but I think it is likely it was a reality that we were headed for some kind of catastrophe financially. At some point, you know, the bill always comes due, and it's better to start paying now as opposed to later, I guess we could say.
The distribution of equities across households, the top 10% of Americans own 88% of equities, 88% of the stock market. The next 40%.
You know, that's actually something that the left talks about quite often, which they're not necessarily wrong in the huge economic imbalance of you know, just the nature of American life. We have a lot of rich people. No, we don't have a lot of rich people. We have a lot of people who are really, really rich. And then we have just waves and waves, just oceans of people who are kind of struggling. And then there are people, you know, in the middle who desperately want to move up because to fall down, they may never make it back up again.
Owns 12% of the stock market. The bottom 50 has debt. They have credit card bills. They rent their homes. They have auto loans, and we've got to give them some relief. That I was struck by the statistic from last year.
That's the message right there. Just as a bystander, I'm like, wow, okay.
All right. Or that, you know, I like the examples, and I was really struck by two different statistics last year. Summer of 2024, Americans took more European vacations than they had in history. Summer of 2024, more Americans were using food banks than they.
As a nation, we are at peak European vacation, leisure time, and also peak food bank access time. If we weren't a modern American country with a constitution and whatnot, we would consider this serfdom. This is a neo-serf class that is emerging in America, where you have the country being run by what is effectively a handful of the fabulously wealthy, and then billions, basically, of people who are disposable to one degree or another.
Ever have in history. I went into two food banks that near my hometown to ask, what's the story? And they said, you know, it really takes, for a lot of people, it's a loss of dignity to walk in a food bank. Of course. But they were seeing something, a new phenomenon, that it wasn't their traditional clientele. It wasn't people who'd lost their homes. It wasn't people out on the street. These were working families who could no longer, you know, $100 at the grocery store, that basket of groceries every week, they were missing 5, 6, 7 things, and they were coming to the food bank to top up. So, you know, that's not a great America. Record European vacation, record food banks.
Record European vacations, record food banks. This is an untenable social situation. You know, you can go on forever doing all kinds of stuff, but socially there will be problems. You're gonna have to deal with that. And then I hear the market is supposed to collapse again. Apparently the market's been collapsing a lot this last week. And they are predicting a Black Monday. Yeah, that's what I heard. Jim Cramer.
The president doesn't try to reach out and reward these countries and companies that play by the rules in the 1987 scenario. The one where we went down 3 days and then down 22% on Monday has the most cogency. We will not have to wait out too long, will we? We'll know by Monday. Fortunately, we had an excellent set of employment numbers today. At least it makes it less likely a crash will necessarily lead to a recession. But if President Trump stays intransigent and does nothing to ameliorate the damage that I saw these last 2 days, I'm not going to be constructive here. I will contain my anger, but only because I lived through 87, and in the end, I came out okay. I was in cash for the crash. I know what this feels like. Oh, and if Europe moves against our fabulous tech companies next week, then I will be furious. That I promise you, because it should not happen. If the president doesn't try to reach out and reward these countries and companies that...
So, you know, people like Cramer are predicting what may be a market crash tomorrow. And, you know, it may crash, it may not, who knows? There's something else that we've been revealing with all the Doge cuts recently. And even before the Doge cuts came out, I think when you go back to the demic, right? When you go back to the demic, and you remember, this is a weird phenomenon. I can't believe this actually became a thing associated with the demic, like the total lack of self-awareness, but it just kept happening. The dancing TikTok nurses, right? Mostly nurses, a couple of doctors too, right? There was dancing TikTok doctors and nurses. And what that kind of revealed for a lot of people during the demic was that there seems to be a bit of excess happening here. You guys seem to have way too much time on your hands to do foolishness, right? And it makes you wonder how much of that is just going around broadly in the economy. And if you notice, like around the internet, there are a lot of people who are really not worried about the so-called economy crashing, especially if you're measuring the economy by the stock market. There are a lot of people who can care less about the stock market crashing. And to tell you the truth, I think I'm one of them. I just don't feel it. I'm not heavily invested in the stock market. I have a little bit of savings, but I'm not a big whale in the game and like that. And so just, numbers go up, numbers go down. I'm not really tripping like that. And then I think a lot of people are feeling that kind of thing, because what economy are you really complaining about anyway? Let's take a look at this economy that they say is doing so bad.
My coworkers keep saying I need to make like a tech TikTok, because if you look at my TikTok, you'd never guess I have a job. So anyways, this is our current workstation.
She's a product manager. Well, one of these girls by the pool is a product manager. I can't tell which. They're basically the same girl, but whatever.
My coworkers keep saying I need to make like a tech TikTok, because if you look at my TikTok, you'd never guess I have a job. So anyways, this is our current workstation. Callie and I are what you call product managers. Callie, what is your team over?
My team is over reporting and internal tools.
And I am over what we call card experience.
Two girl bosses by the pool. This is a picture. It's a snapshot of our economy, Two girl bosses by the pool making a TikTok. Yeah, we can crash the market a little bit.
So we work on like anything from activating your credit card to freezing, reissue, shipping, all the good stuff. What's a PM?
No, they work for credit card companies. Oh yeah, we can definitely crash this market a little bit.
We help prioritize and help the engineers stay on track and help them know what to build so that you have a product to use.
Yeah, exactly. So you might have a team, like the engineers actually do the developing, the coding, which is the impressive part. Designers also do the impressive part, which is everything you see when you're in a software. Product managers essentially decide what the team's going to work on, do competitive research, prioritize bugs, keep everyone focused, motivated, and driving towards business outcomes. So that's what we do. And we work from home, which means you work from the internet.
So this is our office today.
Thanks for tuning in. I hope all you coworkers are happy. I'm branching out into the tech niche.
Yeah, we can crash the market. If the market crashes, I might actually be happy, because you won't be by the pool pressing buttons on your laptop, making videos for TikTok. How about that market?
And it's tariff city. Trump has put his tariffs all over the place. I've been trying to understand them. I don't. Like, it's more.
The big money gambling guy doesn't understand tariffs. That's weird. That's weird. Dave, you seem to be like on top of everything all the time, Dave. Dave Portnoy is confused. He doesn't understand what's going on. Dave is having a hard time right now.
Trade deficit tariff to me, like, hey, we get this much from you and you get this much from us. Let's even that up. Let's get some wacky formula and do tariffs. And everything's in the because of it.
Dave looks really stressed out. Dave looks like his wife just left him and the kids are living with mom. They all talked about it and they decided they don't like you anymore as a family. They just don't like you. Dave looks like he's having a really bad day.
I tweeted out, Dave, how much are you down right now and today? 7 million. I'm down 7 million bucks.
7 million. 7 million bucks. Dave. You know what? I got to tell you, Dave lost 7 million bucks. How do I feel about that? Absolutely nothing.
Oh my God, we'll have our home again. My God, we'll have our home. By blood or sweat, we'll get there yet. By God, we'll have our home.
Dave Portnoy is down 7 million bucks, and I don't feel a thing.
And stocks and crypto. I think Trump's a smart guy. You may not love him. I think he's smart. Howard Lutnick, I like him. I think he's smart. I think they're smarter than me when it comes to these tariffs. And I also think he's playing a high stakes game here. I'm gonna roll with him for a couple days, couple weeks, and see how this pans out.
Hang in there, Dave. Don't cry, Dave. You look like you're about to cry. Dave looked like he about to cry. Hold on, Dave. It's just 7 million bucks. You'll be all right. You blow that on 2 hands of blackjack, Dave. You'll be all right. 7 million bucks. What? That's like a weekend. That's like a 3-day weekend in Vegas for you, right? You'll be all right, Dave. Don't cry. Dave is crying, y'all. Trump made Dave cry. I didn't even know I voted for this, but I voted for this. Trump made Dave Portnoy cry, and this is dope. I like the way things are going. Stock market's crashing. Dave Portnoy's crying. It's not that bad.
But my impression of Trump, he makes big moves, big statements, sees how people play it off. The art of the deal is a moving thing.
Hang in there, Dave. Hang in there, Dave. I mean, listen. At least you didn't get fired from your job at the steel plant.
A little fun fact. In 1978, I worked in a steel mill. I was getting paid between $16 and $18 an hour in a steel mill, okay? My house payment was $125 a month. I was doing well. Then we started not taxing or not putting tariffs on China steel coming in from China and other countries. And they were supplementing their industry, and they took our steel industry away from us, okay? And so I lost my job. They shut the mill down. And then I had to go figure it out. At the time, I was married with 3 kids. And this was in the 80s, early 80s. And I had to figure it out. I couldn't get a job that was going to pay sufficient to be able to survive. So I had to create my own businesses. And I've done that ever since. But it was the taking of the steel mills from this country and all these others that they've taken, the auto industry and everything else, that's killed our economy. Now you start making it a fair playing field, is what Mr. Trump is doing, President Trump, is doing, those jobs will come back. People will start making money. And you say, oh, well, now we're not going to get cheap products. No, we're not going to get cheap products. But all the money that we're paying those countries for those cheap products will stay in this country. And we will start manufacturing, and we will have those jobs that pay good again. You'll see.
So the idea, the long game, is to bring back some of, if not, most of America's industrial manufacturing sector, and that may have negative short-term people who live life by their stock margins. But for the vast majority of the faceless working class, it will mean jobs and security. It will mean you can afford a family. You can afford a woman. You can maybe put a kid through school. Healthcare, dental, medical stuff, all the things that regular people live and die on. But, the numbers on the graph, they go down. Later on, they go back up. You guys who live by the graph, you'll be all right. I want to share something with you guys. This is a post on X I noticed earlier. I want to set the mood, though. We got to build a little ambiance. Little Midwest sentiment about the markets here. This is a post from someone called Evan Barker. No one in my family who voted for Trump owns any stock. For all the rich Democrats panicking today, you know now how it must have felt when Jimmy Carter destroyed 400,000 trucking jobs, when Bill Clinton signed NAFTA, shipping jobs to Mexico and Canada, causing industry to board up in the middle of the country, left to rot, when he deregulated the finance industry and led us to the 2008 housing crisis, and when Obama told us, sorry, some jobs just aren't coming back. If you see this post, I hope you look in the mirror at some point today and recognize the destruction your own party has played in the lives of working class Americans. This is what Liberation Day is all about. No one is going to weep for your stock portfolio. No one is going to weep for your stock portfolio. Where were you when we lost our American dream? There's a feeling of anger out there.
Oh my God, we'll have our home again. My God, we'll have our home. By blood or sweat, we'll get there yet. By God, we'll have our home.
JD Vance, thanks so much for joining Fox and Friends this morning.
Good morning. Great to be with you.
So the last time we had a one-on-one was in your house. You weren't vice president.
That's right.
You were auditioning. You were the only candidate that said if you didn't get selected, you would be disappointed. Well, you got accepted. So congratulations, Mr. Vice President.
Thank you.
Let's talk about some of the issues that matter to the American people.
Sure.
And it's the president's new tariff policy. And when I think about
this is the big one.
What he got elected on is bring the cost down for people, but also
exactly everybody, anybody that voted, if you voted for Trump and you're mad about these tariffs, bro, you cannot say that.
So bring manufacturing back to the country.
That's right.
These are gonna kind of hit each other, right? Explain to us how you get manufacturing here, but also get the cost down for the American people.
Well, if you go back a little bit, Lawrence, remember during the first Trump administration, everybody said that Trump's tariffs were going to be inflationary back then. What actually happened? We had 1.5% inflation. We had
I think most people remember the first Trump administration as economically prosperous, just to put it like that. I mean, I'm almost positive there was literal money in the street. Like you could just go outside and like randomly pick up a dollar bill every now and then.
the fastest growing economy in a generation. And we had the beginning of a manufacturing renaissance in the United States of America. Then, of course, we had 4 terrible years of the Biden administration. But I think it's useful for all of us to step back and ask ourselves, what has the globalist economy gotten the United States of America? And the answer
This is exactly it. Is that you ask this question to an average person, go to Walmart or Target and ask this question, the answer is nothing. All of this perceived value is primarily consolidated around the ruling communication, media, and 1% class.
You guys got fat while we starved. Now I want in. But the nickel bag gets sold in the park, I want half.
Fundamentally, it's based on 2 principles: incurring a huge amount of debt to buy things that other countries make for us. And to make it a little bit more crystal clear, we borrow money from Chinese peasants to buy the things those Chinese peasants manufacture. That is not a recipe for economic prosperity. It's not a recipe for low prices, and it's not a recipe for
exactly. Yeah, and it's not like it's not beneficial for an average person here in the U.S. if they can't get a job. And so, and you see it here, right? I mean, this.
What good is having the numbers on the graph go up if more and more people are shopping for their essentials at the food bank? Tell me more about these numbers on the graph as I dig through this bin of funny looking vegetables. Tell me more about the numbers on the graph after I explain to my kids that I can't buy them new shoes until next month. Tell me more about your numbers on the graph, please. I'm dying to hear about these wonderful numbers on your graph, sir.
This is another example that you can take a look at, is that so this is an example of kind of what I'm talking about, especially with stocks, is that from 2019, the year before COVID, to 2021, real average incomes per family have grown by 13%. This is a very large growth. This very large growth hides substantial inequality. And this is the problem that a lot of people that are in media don't understand, is that they don't understand why when you're showing a graph that says the economy is getting better to an average person, they think the graph is bullshit. And the reason why is this.
No, Asmund, no. Trust in the graph, Asmund Gold. Trust, all faith in the graph. Don't you understand? If the numbers on the graph are going up, that means everybody's good, right? That's how graphs work, right? Trust in the graph. In the graph, there's all power. The graph is all knowing.
This very large growth hides the substantial inequality. The bottom 99% of real incomes grew by only 4.1% from 2019 to 2021. That's 2 years, I guess 3 in a way. But while the top 1% grew by 46%, the top 1% of families captured 75% of.
Well, that's a whole different kind of graph. Wait a minute. How come I got to trust the one graph and they get to trust the other graph? I don't. I was all hyped up about graphs just like 30 seconds ago, wasn't I? Now it feels kind of weird.
Total real growth per family from 2019 to 2021. The top 1% income share reached an all-time high of 27%. I think that people don't understand what these numbers are. You want to talk about Chinese peasants? What about the American peasants? The rich got richer. They got richer in an astronomical level that is not even easy to comprehend. Like, let's see, Jeff.
Now, the interesting thing about that is a guy like Asman, he's like the top YouTuber on the whole thing. He obviously made money during this time period as well. However, I appreciate the honesty that he's putting forth right now, because he didn't make like BlackRock money. You know, he just made AdSense money.
Bezos, net worth over time. Do we have a graph here? Wow, look at that. Wow, look, oh wow, look at these numbers.
Look, numbers on the graph went up. Look, numbers go up. Didn't I tell you? I told you numbers on the graph go up. That means everything was good. Biden was live and healthy, and the numbers on the graph were going up. Everything is good.
Numbers. Those are really good numbers. So yeah, in just 2 years, exactly. And so this is the now show the evolution of taxes for the extremely wealthy. Right. And so tax rates, I think I know this, but I can't fully say that I understand this. My understanding is that tax rates for very wealthy people, like, you know, go back like 70, 80, 100 years ago, were actually higher than they are now. But I'm not sure if I'm educated enough. I don't want to stand on that, but that's what
That is true. I hear tell we had a maximum, like the top tax rate was like 90-some%, meaning that you got taxed at, you know, 97% of your income was taxable, basically, if you made a certain amount of money. Something to that effect. You know, I'm not a accountant either.
I've heard. And so billionaires don't pay taxes. In a lot of cases, they don't. Just the 50s? Yeah, I think that's true. I think it's true too. Can you show the productivity wage gap? Yes. This is the sick one. You guys ready? Disconnect between productivity and a typical worker's compensation.
And this is another thing I found interesting watching this video. Like I said, he is explaining it to his audience, and I kind of get a little bit of a left-leaning vibe from Asmongold, so I'm expecting a little bit of left-leaning from his audience. So now he's got to explain to the children what's going on in the real world, and I think the whole process is actually kind of cute.
And keep in mind, this is stopping at 2017.
Oh, and real quick, before I forget, shout out to my man Sigma Jones over in the Rumble chat with the $2 Rumble chat. He said, he was talking about Dave Portnoy a minute ago. He said, sports betting is definitely not for the faint of heart. If you can't make it there, you ain't ready for the wolves of Wall Street. Man, tell Dave to hold on, bro. The number's going to go up sooner or later. He'll be all right. We're going to get him a new graph. Tell Dave a new graph is going to come out like next Monday. Not tomorrow, the Monday after. He'll be all right. But shout out to Sigma Jones. Do me a favor. Like, share, and subscribe, y'all. Support the show. You notice we got new theme. Working on some new things right now. We're trying to add a few more bells and whistles as we build this thing up, man. So appreciate you guys' support for hanging in there over the years. Thank you for donating, bro.
Count it up, count it up. Let's count all the money. Count it up, count it up.
This is why people want to burn down the system. This is the reason. And as somebody, I am a top 1% earner. I pay over $1 million in taxes every single year. In fact, I'm due for that pretty soon. And I totally understand it. And I will be massively negatively impacted by this. I will probably lose collectively over the course of this happening. I will probably lose millions of dollars. That's what will happen. It's just the way it is. But I can totally understand it. You got to understand it. You need deductions. I deducted a 6-figure amount of money and I still had to pay that much. So yeah, it's a lot. You probably lost millions today. Not quite. I don't have that much money, okay? But you know, maybe at some point. Hey, has been a $1 million vote for? Well, all I'm saying is like my point is that a lot of these people, as I said, these are the people messaging, oh, Luigi, you know, haha, let's meme about Luigi. Well, now they're losing money, and so now it's serious. Yeah, you were fine with somebody else's dad getting shot in the back of the head, but whenever you lose 3% on your portfolio, suddenly now the world has to change. And won't somebody think of the companies? Anyway, I'm going on a bit of a tangent. Do you guys see, after you look at these graphs and this,
American Man, I appreciate the thoughtful suggestion, but no, I don't think I will be changing my avatar to Kanye and the clan outfit. It's a bit too risque, you know. Like I said, I'm trying to be a good boy for Master. I'm trying to be good, but they, you know, you won't let me. That's the thing. I'm trying to be a good nigga for Master, and you won't let me, American Man. Shout out to Drew Beats with the $5 super chat. I don't know what these folks are invested in, but my Fidelity account is popping, and pounds are still cheap. Hey, bro, it's not a recession for everybody. You feel me? It is not a recession for everybody. Some people are always going to be making money, man. It is what it is.
Everybody must eat. Everybody must eat. Everybody must eat. Everybody must eat. Yes.
this data, the reason why Americans want to burn down the system? Do you see as clear as fucking day? It's so obvious. Ponder the graph. Look at the graphs. Wall Street.
Look at the graph. I told you, it's all about the graph. Numbers on the graph go up. That's all that matters. Numbers on the graph go up. Don't count anything. Don't worry about that new Mexican Sharia town. I mean, sorry, not Mexican. That new Islamic Sharia town that they're building in Texas, only for Muslims. Don't worry about that. Numbers on the graph go up. Every time you call customer service, you get a guy with a Punjabi accent saying, "Hello, my name is Michael. How can I help you?" I know your name's not fucking Michael, dude. But don't worry about that. Numbers on the graph are going up. God knows how many millions, maybe a billion various Latinos, mostly Mexicans, have crossed the border in the last 5 to 10 years. Don't worry about that. Numbers on the graph go up, bro. Just worry about the numbers on the graph.
Pretty smart. They knew this was coming. Some large hedge fund probably put out options in a market to crash and probably still made tons of money. Yeah, I'd do the same thing if I were them.
Jobs in the United States of America. For 40 years, we have gone down that pathway. We've seen closing factories. We've seen rising inflation.
JD Vance mentions 40 years. 1975. Well, pretty accurate, huh? Imagine that. It's exactly 50. Yeah, pretty close.
We've seen the cost of housing so high that most Americans can't afford to buy a home right now. President Trump is taking this economy in a different direction. He ran.
That's another thing. But the graph, I can't afford a house. They don't care about a graph. They care about a house.
No, Asman, the graph is going to save me any day now. I'm telling you, Asman, I just know it. The graph is going to buy me the house any day now. All right. It's going to be a tiny home next to a crack house, but the graph is going to help me. I've been trusting in the graph all this time. I can't stop now, bro. I can't stop now.
It's, again, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. How can you expect somebody to understand abstract economics when they can't understand where they're living?
And on that, he promised it, and now he's delivering. And yes, this is a big change. I'm not going to shy away from it, but we needed a big change, Lawrence. We cannot keep going down the Joe Biden globalist pathway where we have.
Yep, exactly. And it will hurt, by the way, and it will fuck up the economy in the short term. I think it will. And you know what's crazy? is that it might even fuck up the economy in the long term and cause a Great Depression.
I don't think.
But
really
if I had
matters.
to guess,
I don't think we're playing around with a Great Depression, but I can understand we'll have an economic slowdown, maybe for a year. I don't see it being all that bad. Because here's the problem: if America goes into a Great Depression, the rest of the world sinks into, you know, World War I hunger levels, and somebody's gonna blink before that happens, you know.
I think most of the people that voted for Trump are willing to take that risk. And I think that the gains in the upper 1% that have happened year after year after year have been relying on people's fear of that risk. And the moment that people are not afraid of that anymore, that's when this shit happens. Not afraid anymore? Yeah, exactly. And why are people not afraid anymore? The reason why they're not afraid anymore is because society has taken away a person's right to dignity. A person no longer has the right to dignity. They can't.
Hey, you know what? Speaking of that right to dignity, Free Zone, I will call. I will see you're too big to fail, and I will raise you. I got nothing to lose. It's like an unstoppable force against an immovable object, okay? Too big to fail versus nothing to lose. Who wins?
Can't afford a nice house. They can't afford a nice car. They can't take care of themselves. They can't afford to live in a way that they feel like is authentic to themselves. And that's it. Second Civil War is coming. It's not a civil war. It's just that this is just economics, right? There will be an uprising. Well, this.
Yeah. Calm your kids down, bro. It's not going to be a second Civil War. It's going to be a couple people get shot. Niggas get shot every day, B. You be all right.
This is the uprising. Like they basically, people voted for Trump to be the executioner, and he is executing. Like it or not.
$2 trillion of peacetime debt and deficits. We have manufacturing disappearing. That is not working for Americans. We've got to take this country in a different direction.
There, Mr. Vice President, there does seem to be a disconnect. You see Wall Street in the media and the markets, and they're freaking out right now.
Yep.
But then I look at those.
They have a vested interest in it. That's the reason why. That's why they're freaking out. It's because they have a vested interest in it. They care about money. Of course, the people that are losing money are going to be upset. Duh.
Workers that were in the Rose Garden yesterday, and they're celebrating. I think about all the.
Yeah. I haven't really felt it yet. You know, my little bit of crypto is down, but you know, it's not a loss that I'm crying about. And honestly, I'm gonna buy more. Honestly, I'm just gonna buy more. I only wish I had jumped out just before it went a little bit negative. And then I would have just held that money and bought some crypto today or something like that. But yeah, oh well, still going to buy more.
Diners that I've done across the country and all these businesses saying we've lost manufacturing here, and they're celebrating the move. What is the disconnect between the market and the people, those workers that are cheering this on right now?
Well, I think on one hand, frankly, a lot of people have gotten rich from American jobs moving overseas, but American workers.
I'm going to be honest. If JD Vance runs in 2028, I'm going to vote for him. I am. I'm going to vote for him. I didn't vote for Trump. I'll vote for Vance. Mainly because he has a beard, and I feel like we really need to bring those back. But also some of his policies I agree with too.
Have not gotten rich, and frankly, American companies have not gotten wealthy from the increasing growth of foreign competitors manufacturing overseas. They, as the president says, Lawrence, these foreign companies, they charge us ridiculous tariffs. They engage in a lot of non-tariff practices like currency manipulation. That has been awful for Main Street in the United States of America. It's meant those diners, their customers, don't have jobs anymore.
You guys ever drive through small town Rust Belt? We used to have factories, America. You ever drive through a town that's dead? Doesn't look fun. It looked like it used to be happy. And honestly, sometimes it's like that. There's nothing sadder than something that used to be happy.
It meant those great steel mills, those great auto plants have closed down and their workers have been laid off. What I saw yesterday in the Rose Garden was incredible enthusiasm, because a lot of those workers, they've been working hard for 10, 20, 30, 40 years, young and old, were in the Rose Garden yesterday. They've never had a president who stood up for their jobs and stood up for American prosperity. They finally see something has shifted. There were Democrats out there, Republicans. There were union and non-union.
Yeah, this is the thing, is that those working class people are only represented by probably a single digit number of politicians. Bernie Sanders was one of them. And I think he is still one of them as well. But it's a very, very, very minor amount.
Union workers alike, they know this is a big change, but we need a big change in this country, because what we've done, what we did under the Biden administration, it just wasn't working.
So, Mr. Vice President, I know a lot of MAGA folks, a lot of Americans that are cheering the president on, especially when he takes it to other countries.
Sure.
They feel like we've been screwed for a long time.
Yep.
But I also know people that come from our background.
Yeah, because again, I mean, and you see, this is basically tax the rich too, because they.
It does kind of come off as a Republican strategy to tax the rich, because, you know, the left, they sell hoodies and sweatshirts and long dresses that say eat the rich, tax the rich, and all that. We don't really believe in that in the right wing. However, you know, if we reset the economic landscape so that the average man can get married and buy a house and all that, well, you know, the rich will be just slightly less rich, and we'll be better for it, I suppose.
They have most of the money in the stock market. Like, rich people will be the most disproportionately negatively affected by this financially.
Oh man, you know what's so funny about having super chats, and not only super chats but actual members? I have to respond because Honey Barbecue Wings, I saw you type that question in the chat a minute ago, and I was gonna ignore it because, you know, who needs that? Who really wants that kind of attention? But Honey Barbecue Wings asks, Hood, what do you think about Vance's small hat ties? You really can't get to that top of the political mountain without making friends in all the places, and you're gonna have to kiss the wall. When Vance takes over and runs after President Trump finally finishes his term, if Trump doesn't take it on for another term, but when Vance finally tries to take on the MAGA handle, he's going to have to kiss the wall too. Everybody kisses the wall. I don't have any commentary I would like to share beyond everyone has to kiss the wall.
Hey, you get the bag and fumble it, I get the bag and flip it and tumble it. Straight off the lot, 300 cash, and the car came with a blunt in it.
But shout out to Honey Barbecue Wings. Yeah, you slid that one in there. That was clever. I appreciate clever strategy. Shout out to True Hype with the $20 super chat. What's funny is the media never really provides perspective. For example, notice when they show charts of the stock market now without a 5-year-to-date average, and I believe this dip now isn't even the top of the Biden economy. Well, I think I actually do have an image of that graph just to highlight your comment. Let me drop that for a minute just to get the full image here. So these are the Biden years between 2021 and 2024. Honestly, you can push it right up to 2025. These are the Biden years. This is your super chat right here. That whole graph is your super chat. And we are nowhere near pain yet. This isn't even pain. What was that line from Bane? Now's not the time for fear. That comes later. Right? We are nowhere near the panic point yet. The shout out to my man True Hype with the $20 super chat. Thank you so much.
Hulk! Smash! Smash you! You make Hulk angry. You not like Hulk angry. Hulk no like fighting girls.
Shout out to True Hype with the big super chat. Please like the video, smash that super chat button for me, y'all.
Now, there's a chance that that negative effect that rich people feel will have like a trickle down effect that will negatively affect the average people, but that remains to be seen.
Girl, they're living paycheck to paycheck.
Of course.
And they want to do the patriotic duty of taking it to these other countries, but it's going to hit them a little bit. They feel. What can you tell the American people that they just can't afford an extra $3 here and there about the government making up the difference from that? Will costs go up at some point? Will this just be temporary? Are we talking 3 months or 6 months?
Well, we certainly hear, and I appreciate, how I grew up.
I know.
I grew up in a family that often did live paycheck to paycheck, and we know a lot of Americans are worried. So we are fighting very hard to bring prices down. We're going to have the biggest deregulation in the history of this country. We're doing a lot of things and already have done a lot of things to lower the cost of energy. You heard the president mention this yesterday. Eggs, when we came in, were at a 10-year high, and all of a sudden they've dropped 60% just in the 2 months of the Trump administration.
Yo, I don't think I've bought a carton of eggs in like maybe 2 months, honestly. It's been a while. The last time I bought some eggs, and it's funny because I actually eat eggs a lot, and I bought like, how you get that big square pack of eggs? It's like, I don't know, 24 or 34 or some shit. I don't know how many eggs come in that big ass square case, but I had a big thing like that. And then after those ran out, egg prices like quadrupled, and I was not trying to pay like $10 and $11 for a dozen eggs. Like it's like $1 an egg. What the fuck, y'all selling crack in these eggs? What's going on here? I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I think the cost of egg and cheese sandwiches went up too.
What I'd ask folks to appreciate here is that we are not going to fix things overnight. Yeah. Joe Biden left us, this is not an exaggeration, Lawrence, with the largest
The main concern that I have, honestly, is that unless they elect somebody to carry on this policy after Trump, like all memes aside, I don't think Trump is going to run for a third term, although it would be really funny if he did. It'd be great content for me. I don't think he will, and I honestly don't think he should. But if they don't have,
do it just for the memes, Trump. Just for the memes, do it.
Somebody to follow this up, I think it could be bad, because this is a 10-year and like a 20 and 30-year plan, and like you really can't speed run this plan in 4 years. I think that logistically, that's one of their biggest weaknesses right now.
This is what's going to happen. Trump's going to bring all the jobs back, and then the Democrats are going to win, and then they're going to bring all the Mexicans and the H-1Bs back. It's going to be a kiss. It's going to be a gift and a curse, bro. Trump's going to bring the jobs back, and the Democrats are going to bring the immigrants back.
Time debt and deficit in the history of the United States of America with sky-high interest rates. You don't fix that stuff overnight. We know people are struggling. We're fighting as quickly as we can to fix what was left to us, but it's not going to happen immediately. But we really do believe that if we pursue the right...
So this is really stretching it now? Is it a 20-year plan now? Yeah, I think it is. I think it's about a 20-year plan as... So, and we're seeing this also like here...
American Man says the Democrats aren't winning in 2028, bro. I feel you. I would like that to be true. Obviously, we want that to be true. But what I said just stands. What I'm telling you stands. That is the deal. Trump will bring the jobs back, and the Democrats will try their damnedest to bring the immigrants back. So if you let them win, that's what's going to happen.
Here's another good example. This is.
Could you imagine American steel mill full of H-1Bs? Oh my God. The death. The smell.
Something I just noticed recently. So Austin is now doing autonomous vehicle rides. I might sound crazy, but just listen. In 30 to 50 years, it will be illegal to drive your car on a public road. I don't think people realize the shift that we're going into. It might be less than that.
Deregulation.
That's actually why I do not like the concept of the electric car. Like, I mean, you know, in theory, it's a car. It's cool. It's, you know, an electric car. It's dope. I don't really hate it for what it is, but I understand what it represents from a overarching smart city government authoritarian level. I don't really care for any technology that is a critical thing in my life that can also be remotely terminated by the government because I called somebody a mean word on the interwebs. You know, in the UK right now, like every day now, somebody is getting arrested for posting memes on the internet. And wait till the government decides, you know, arresting you for posting memes is a bit too much. We'll just like cut off your electricity or something.
We pursue those energy cost reducing policies, yes, people are going to see it in their pocketbook. They're also going to benefit from the fact that foreign countries can't take advantage of us anymore. That means their jobs are going to be more secure.
I don't think you can talk about the tariffs, and not talk about the tax cuts as well that we're expecting. Is this to offset some of the cuts that we
obviously
plan on expecting? Will this be a permanent measure, or are we thinking when it comes to the scoring of this bill, we're going to be able to get cuts as a result of this?
I wouldn't think of tax cuts as a way to offset the tariffs. Here's the way that I think about it is, again, for 40 years, we've had an economy that rewards people who ship American jobs overseas and raises tax.
Again, this is the graph.
More graphs.
This is the graph.
Yeah.
This is the graph, and this is what the numbers is.
Damn, graph tricked me. Graph lied to me, y'all. I feel so betrayed. The graph lied to me. I can't believe the graph was lying.
These is the numbers.
Taxes on American workers, and we're flipping that on its head. We're going to cut taxes for American workers and for American companies that build here. We're going to make it harder to ship American jobs overseas.
Yeah, it's really important that we get manufacturing in the U.S. as soon as possible. That way we can have as much control over it whenever things shift to being automated. And you're going to see more automation and technology that way. We have to do this like as soon as possible. And you see, like, I mean, you see how much money China is investing into AI.
Yeah, I really don't think electric cars are really a completely viable future plan. It just doesn't feel right. There's something about it. There's a lot of quirks to electric cars. Do you realize the western part of America has huge distances between people? You can't really drive an electric car in a lot of parts of America when you think about it. It's not that viable. There's barely gas. You know what I mean?
That's really smart. We should be doing the same thing. Why is this hard to understand? It's hard to understand because it's scary for somebody to wake up and look at their portfolio and see that they lost a bunch of money. And there's a chance that...
Hey, shout out to True Hype again with the $10 Rumble chat. Notice all of the usual suspects like Ben Shapiro encouraging hot wars, saying we can afford war, human capital, while telling people that there is no way to afford any trade war. Shows you their value. Yeah, that is an interesting point. The left desperately wants us to push for war with Russia. And it seems like the Ukraine thing, like it or not, we're not going to keep going with the Ukraine thing. Europe, whatever Europe does is what Europe does. And we're hoping the Europeans aren't dumb enough to push for open conflict with Vlad. But a lot of people were pushing for what was effectively World War III. And the same people who were happily willing to go to World War III for some country and the in Eastern Europe that nobody really wants to go to. Nobody in America really wants to be in Ukraine. And we were all in that. We were all in that. But a trade war? Oh no, it's too much. Trade war is like mean or something. Only bad people do trade wars. Shout out to True Hype with the $10 super chat. Smash that super chat button for me, y'all. Appreciate y'all pulling up. Thank y'all for coming through.
Hulk! Smash! Smash you! You make Hulk angry. You not like Hulk angry. Hulk no like fighting girls.
That all of these tariffs and everything about this can totally backfire, and we could go into a Great Depression, and things could totally fucking be awful. Like, yeah, there's not like a guarantee that this is going to go well. Yeah, there's no guarantee that this goes well.
Total shift in the way that we've done economic policy in the United States of America, but it was necessary. So yeah, we're going to cut your taxes. You're going to have more money in your pocket, and that's of course going to help you deal with the cost of inflation. But that's not about offsetting the tariffs. They work together. We want to penalize people for shipping our jobs overseas. We want to reward hardworking Americans. It's all.
And I think this is something that people want to do. They want to see the oligarchs who are shutting down and shipping factories and jobs overseas. They want to see the government fuck them. Just straight up. That's what it is. They want to see it. And they
Rust Belt revenge. Listen, don't make no sense if I'm fucking. We got to be fucking. Let's both get fucked. Excuse my language.
That's why they voted for Trump. And he's fucking them.
Part of the same policy.
I want to get to some other news because there were some reports that came out that Elon Musk is leaving. Now, of course, the president had already said he was only going to be here for a temporary basis.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. Doge will continue after Elon Musk. Will he still be an advisor to you and the president? I know y'all have a great relationship. Tell us about it.
Well, first of all, that report I saw was total fake news. Elon came in and we said, we need you to make government more efficient. We need you to shrink the incredible, vast bureaucracy that thwarts the will of the American people, but also costs way too much money. And we said that's going to take about 6 months.
Isn't it crazy how you have a federal judge who can stop what's effectively a military flight deporting El Salvadorian gang members or whatever, MS-13 gang members? Like, is that even in your charter or whatever as a judge? How do you even get that authority?
And that's what Elon signed up for. But of course, he's going to continue to be an advisor. And by the way, the work of Doge is not even close to done. The work of Elon is not even close to done. You look at all of the fraudulent grants that they found. You look at people who are 150 years old, who are fraudulently collecting Social Security payments. You see our Social Security system, 40% of the people who are calling in are actually committing fraud. That means the 60% who need their Social Security checks are waiting in line. Doge has got a lot of work to do. And yeah,
what if we could save Social Security just by cutting out all the scammers? Wouldn't it be weird if it was just that one simple trick? We just went in with a fine-tooth comb and cut out all the scammers, and next thing you know, it's actually been at a surplus all this time.
I think it does. I mean, absolutely. It's going to take forever. Do you think the working class benefits from the rich losing money on a stock market besides getting vengeance? The rich drive a lot of consumption that creates jobs. If the rich drive all of this consumption and all of this economic progress that creates jobs, then why is it that people feel like they can't afford anything now and they could 20 years ago? Why do people feel like their purchasing power and their ability to have financial stability has gone down?
It's almost like the rich have a relatively separate economy. You ever been to like a really wealthy home, like a mansion or something like that? You ever actually get to see the inside of the home of somebody who's incredibly wealthy? They're not like us, right? They not like us, right? And it kind of makes sense now that I say it out loud for the first time. They do kind of have a separate economy. And so for them, losing a little bit of money, you know, like Dave Portnoy lost $7 million or whatever, it doesn't really hit like me losing a little bit of money because I only got a little bit of money.
It's because that's not happening. Why would you take this at face value? The administration is not known for integrity or intellectual honesty. I mean, do I really need to get a source for the idea that the federal government is probably corrupt and full of people that are stupid? This has been a known entity for 50 years. I don't need a source for this. Everybody knows it. It's obvious. I worked at the federal government. I saw it myself.
Work's going to continue after Elon leaves, but fundamentally, Elon is going to remain a friend and an advisor of both me and the president, and he's done a lot of good things. People don't realize how vast and uncontrolled the bureaucracy was. We've started to chip away at it, but there's a lot of work to do. It's not going to happen all in 6 months. It's going to take a long and committed effort.
Tell us about the news when it comes to TikTok. It looks like the president is going to announce maybe today some proposal. Maybe America owns 50% of TikTok. A private investor will own the other part. Is that going to happen today?
So I don't want to get ahead of any presidential announcements here, but what I've said is we've been working very hard, me and the president, the entire team, to really accomplish two things. First of all,
is Google going to buy TikTok? Is that what's going to happen? Google's going to buy TikTok.
You want to make sure that the TikTok app in the United States is not spying on people.
Right.
That's good for national security. You also want to give people access to this incredible platform, which, as we know, that's where a lot of young people get their news. That's where a lot of young people found out about the policies of the Trump administration. And we got to accomplish both of those things. I think that we're in a good place. We're going to keep on working at it, but I'll let the president.
So the Trump administration realized maybe halfway during the election, like their campaign, they realized at some point that the younger voters are trending to the right, especially the men, and TikTok is actually an avenue to gain voters. You will be competitive on TikTok, and so it's actually in your best interest to keep TikTok around for a little bit longer. It'd be funny if we kept TikTok alive for just 3 more years, and then, you know, once the 3rd year starts, it's like, well, as it turns out, the Chinese have been spying on us this whole time. We can't beat them, so let's just get rid of the whole thing. It would be hilarious.
Doesn't make that announcement.
If it doesn't come out before the deadline, because I know the president extended.
It'll come out before the deadline.
It will come out.
We had a couple days to continue working on it to finalize it.
Yeah. I mean, they'll probably come out. I mean, I don't think they're going to get rid of TikTok, right? Like, I mean, I really don't think so. Yeah, do you think Doge is firing only problematic, lazy people? They fired even Republicans, and yet Doge haven't had any real time to measure how useless they are? No, but if you're making the argument that there are chances where mistakes can happen, I think that you're right. Like, every single jail probably has people that are in that jail that shouldn't be in the jail. Like, you know, they got falsely imprisoned for one reason or another.
I think they might bring up that there was some MS-13 guy who, like, allegedly got gang identified or something like that. They said no, he was a good boy, and they put him on that plane to El Salvador. And maybe that happened. Maybe that's what happened. I'm not sure, but he was definitely an illegal immigrant. So I'm gonna save my sympathy for like the women who get attacked by the illegals and the little girls and whatnot. I don't have that much sympathy to go around. You know, I just discovered I actually had a little sympathy left, and I don't want to waste it on that guy.
But just because somebody is Just because there are bad outcomes doesn't mean you shouldn't do anything.
Things.
Sorry about that.
And of course, we're going to let the president announce whatever we ultimately decide.
Let's talk about some of the lawfare in this country, because I think it's important.
Of course.
We're seeing judges block illegal immigrants that came into the country illegally. That was the first crime. And then the second crime, they victimized American citizens, murder, rapists, and all that. What's going to be done about this? We're seeing these one-off stories of, you know, this person was a great father, and then they're hanging around with MS-13.
Yeah,
so,
well, this is the reason why you don't have. So the reason why the average population doesn't give a shit about, you know, illegal immigrants being deported is, and even if like, you know, there are.
I'm fresh out of shits to give, bro. I just don't. I can't. I just can't spare it. I don't have any more shits left to give. I wish I did.
Some people that are like negatively affected, or like, you know, some due process isn't really being used. This is the messaging that I think that they should use in order to explain it. Basically, the reason why they're taking an extreme stance is that the situation that was created by not like kind of securing the border and letting all of these people come in, this created a problem that they can't solve with due process, basically. And so they're not using it. That's what's going on.
I love his analysis right here, and this is actually spot on. And this is what we voted for too. We didn't get to this point legally. I mean, there was some legal maneuvers, but technically we just stopped prosecuting and stopped policing. Hell, we even had crimes be reclassified, you know, and you don't get out of this problem with completely legal measures, because you didn't get here with completely legal measures. And for the Trump administration to understand that intuitively, it feels right.
Is that basically the problem was created, and you can't uncreate this problem unless you do something that doesn't use due process. Problem by what metric? By the metric of having 10 to 20 million illegal immigrants. And
this is what I noticed. He's really trying to educate like his liberal audience. You know, they don't believe it was ever a problem. It's like, no, we had millions of them, and that was just the ones we caught and we can count.
that's the reason why the messaging for, oh, but they're not listening to the judge. Well, if the rule of law is something that should be applied all the time, then why didn't they apply the rule of law when these people came in? Why are they even here in the first place? Well, you've created this situation that now it's so bad, you have them trying to do something different. And like they are probably breaking the rules and not following the judge's orders, etc. But the situation was created by breaking the rules and not following orders either. Things like sanctuary cities, for example.
You can break laws. I can ignore judges. What's he going to do to me? The judge can't beat me.
So that's the reason. Yeah, they broke the law by letting these people in. Exactly. And that's why you have the majority of people that still support the deportations and mass deportations. That's the reason why. Two wrongs don't make a right. Yeah, they do.
I don't feel wrong. That's the problem. You guys didn't feel wrong when you were opening your sanctuary cities and you were hiding all the illegals in the basement like it was the Holocaust. You guys, you didn't feel wrong. I don't feel wrong. I feel good.
That's absolutely. They do in this case? Yep, in this case it does. And again, I don't necessarily think that this is the best way of doing it. But if you can't understand what I'm explaining, I don't know what to tell you. Allowing a wrong to continue is still wrong? Yeah. Well, that's a crazy take. Oh, do you guys think that I'm right about my viewpoint on this? This is top level brain rot? No.
Are you fighting your audience? What's Asman? Asman, you gotta teach these children, bro. These are your children. You gotta teach them. They don't know what's happening. They're scared. Your kids are scared, bro. Your kids are kind of worried. They don't understand what's happening. It all got too real, too fast for them. It's like when you were cosplaying as gangsters and then real gangsters showed up and all of a sudden you wanted to go home now.
No, it's not. Is that you have ignored the rules. You have stopped listening to what the border and immigration policy is. You have created this extreme circumstance that is cataclysmic and problematic for a lot of people, or at least the perception of it is that it is cataclysmic and problematic. And now, in order to solve the problem, you expect people to follow every single rule that you conveniently ignored in order to create the problem.
If deporting you was wrong, I don't want to be right. If being right means being surrounded, I'd rather be alone doing life.
And you're confused why people don't want to hold them to that standard. Well, it's because you didn't hold yourself to that standard. It's the same reason why nobody cares about Trump being a convicted felon. Trump's a 34x convicted felon. How many? That's
gangster. You guys thought you were gangsters until the real gangsters showed up. That's really what happened. You guys all thought you were tough until a real tough guy showed up. And now you're all getting Zelensky. I'm having a good time, honestly. I'm having fun. I know a lot of people aren't having fun, but I'm having fun. Are you guys having fun? Put a 1 in the chat if you guys are having fun.
Insane, right? How do you do this? And I bet a few of them are probably legit. I think he probably did. I think he probably fucked over tons of people. Absolutely. Probably a piece of shit. But the thing is that when Hunter Biden isn't in jail, the average person is not going to give a fuck about what Trump did. You can't watch Hunter Biden playing Grand Theft Auto in real life, smoking crack, driving 150 miles an hour, and see this guy isn't in jail.
Hunter Biden was what was his name from the Boondocks? Something Wexler III. Hunter Biden was the crazy gangster grandson of the rich oligarch that secretly ran everything. George Wexler III or something like that. Hunter Biden was straight out of the Boondocks, y'all. Come on.
And then expect people to care about like some white collar bullshit with Donald Trump. Which one's worse, smoking crack and driving under the influence of crack, or some weird like tax reporting? Which one do you think average people care about more? He left us, yeah, the laptop. Yeah, well, I'm just saying, like, that's it. And why Hunter isn't president? Yeah, but the person who is the reason why he's not in jail. So it's the same thing. If Hunter Biden was a non-white person,
yeah, and Hunter Biden was dropping an N-bomb like he really got the pass, bro. Who gave Hunter Biden the N-bomb pass? I totally forgot about the Henny prices. He straight up asked somebody, hey, my nigga, don't hit me with the Henny prices, my nigga. Like, he really said that shit, bro. He was like, don't hit me with the Henny prices, my nigga. Hunter Biden is a wild boy. I would actually like to hang out with Hunter Biden one night. Like, I feel like if you hung out with Hunter Biden, it would be like The Hangover. There'd be parts of it you wouldn't remember. You'd wake up the next day with random items in your pocket. A girl's panties, an empty condom wrapper, some kind of weird pills. You don't really know what they are, and you're scared to take one of them again, but you're pretty sure you took one that night. Like, if you go out with Hunter Biden, I'm pretty sure it would be like an epic hangover type of night.
that came from a working class background, where would Hunter Biden be? Everybody knows the answer to this. He'd be in jail. Everybody knows it.
It's going to be done. The courts are blocking this right now. So this,
again, my point is that this is the reason why a lot of people don't give a shit about, like, Donald Trump ignoring these judges, is because the problem was created by ignoring the law. And so solving the problem by ignoring the law is viewed as equivalent exchange. That's the reason why.
Now, the executive branch, what are you guys going to do about it?
Well, look, we're going to keep on appealing. We're going to keep on fighting back here. First of all, we have to remember the most important thing is to stop the bleeding, to stop.
Somebody says it's not right to do that.
Oh, now you're worried about the law. Don't worry about the law. The law be all right. What's law got to do with it? What's law but secondhand immigration? What's law got to do with it? Who needs the law when the country needs saving?
It wasn't right to let them all in either. And so when people said it's not right to let these people in, and then you said, too bad, but now you say it's not right to get these people out, and then somebody else says to.
Oh, now you're worried about the law. You see what I mean? Now it's all about the law, and niggas went to Harvard Law all of a sudden. Nah, I'm not trying to hear that.
Too bad. Oh. That's it. You're very close-minded. Your take only matters. Do you want to know the truth? I don't blame any of the illegal immigrants. Do you know who I really want to send to El Salvador? The people who run the companies who employed them knowingly.
I don't blame the illegal immigrants either in that sense. It's not personal. It's not personal, you know? But they're like wolves and coyotes. You know, you don't blame wolves and coyotes because they're wolves and coyotes. You simply deal with the problem.
And if it was up to me, that's what would happen. That's what I think. If you want to talk about fair, that's what I would do. So I'm explaining the way that people look at this. I don't necessarily agree with it in all circumstances.
Influx of massive illegal immigration into the country. And in 2 months, the president has already done that. You have illegal border crossings down over 95% in pretty much every part of the American southern border. Then, yeah, we got to get the violent criminals out of here. And we've got to get illegal immigrants who came in during the Biden administration out of our country. That's what we're working on now. You're right. The courts, some radical left judges have stepped in and said you're not allowed to deport MS-13 gang members. That's crazy. We think the Supreme Court's going to overrule it, and we're going to keep on fighting for the president's
Well,
prerogative.
they're going to do it even if the Supreme Court says that they can't do it.
And honestly, I think it would make for great campaign fodder to, on the one hand, the Democrats are fighting for MS-13 gang members, and on the other hand, the Republicans are just sending them out of the country, and they're campaigning on these guys got to get out of here. And then you keep bringing up cases of where illegal immigrants committed some kind of horrible crime. I think there was this one story out in like Long Island a couple of years ago where this MS-13 guy, he killed like 2 or 3 high school kids. And they're all like Latino, Hispanic kids or whatever, because, you know, huge population out there. They got their little niches and whatnot. And these kids went out somewhere after school and they all got shot in the head, something like that. And you keep bringing up these kinds of stories as you get questioned about why you sent off this gang member to that crazy looking prison in El Salvador. And that's how you win. That's how we just won, you know?
Like, I'm just going to tell you right now, Trump doesn't give a fuck. He doesn't give a fuck. He's going to do it anyway.
You know what?
So, like,
that was actually a story. I forgot what paper I saw that. It was a little story. Allegedly, you know, reports say that Trump is in a no F's given mood right now. He just doesn't care. Trump says, listen, I got one last shot at this, right? And I'm about to lose myself like Eminem. You better lose yourself in the moment you want it. He is on it like that right now. Arms are sweaty, knees weak, palms are heavy. Vomit on his sweater already, mom spaghetti. He is on it right now. He about to 8-mile his whole presidency right now. You don't even know.
That's it. Yeah, they're screwed. Yeah, exactly. kind of dangerous? Yeah. It was also kind of dangerous letting them in. Exactly. See, now you're starting to get it. It's a dictator time. I'm telling you, this is what's going to happen. And people will not care.
To enforce the law. Lord, you remember the number of people who came in here, the innocent American, girls like Jocelyn Nungray who lost their lives. Democrats never wept for them. Democrats never issued a congressional resolution of condemnation for their murder.
We can do that for a whole election campaign, for a couple of cycles, maybe. Every time the Democrats say something, oh, you didn't say nothing about this girl who got assaulted and left on the side of the road by this illegal immigrant, by some homeless illegal that you let in here. I'm telling you, just keep running that game. Just run that play, just straight up the middle. They are weak in the middle. Their line is shit. Just run it straight up the middle. You're going to get 8 to 9 yards every other play. Just run it up the middle. That's all you got to do.
Democrats didn't do anything to make it harder for violent thugs to come into our country and prey on innocent young women. What they're getting fired up about, what they're most angry about is not that.
Play the women card. Always play the women card. Because we like women. We want women to live. Not far from the kitchen, though.
Jocelyn Nungray was murdered, but that the person who murdered her is getting shipped back home where they belong, not in the United States of America.
And I think this is the correct emotional framing of this problem. And I think that this is the winning framing. Is that why are you focusing on an illegal gang member being deported and not the person who is the victim of this crime? And this is the big thing that I think.
Because they were reading the graph, bro. They weren't worried about that. They were busy reading the graph. That's, the graph was going up. They weren't worried about Jocelyn. They were focused on the numbers going up. Jocelyn was forgotten. A new graph came out. They was not trying to hear about Jocelyn's problems.
I think liberals have really kind of lost the message war with is that I think that liberals for a very long time, what their strongest and biggest tool is emotional manipulation and emotional blackmail. Won't somebody think about these poor kids or think about this, preying on people's emotions one way or another. If you can subvert that and then shift it around to them, it breaks down their entire argumentation. The truth, you mean? Well, it depends on the perspective, right? It does. It depends on the perspective. But
what's truth anyway? What's really true? I mean, I've said this a while ago. Let me bring this up again. We do live in the post-truth era, if you really think about it. Truth is irrelevant at this point. The lines have been drawn. I mean, we're basically digging in. We're almost at the trench digging phase, I guess, at this point, right? We don't really need truth when we're both dug in trenches. Truth is irrelevant. We're in the post-truth era because you know why? The Democrats have abandoned truth. It's all for power at this point. But once the Democrats completely swallowed the transgender argument, there is no truth. And Republicans, Trump especially, understands we are kind of in the post-truth era. And so now it's just about the force of will. It's a Nietzschean power struggle at this point. Truth need not apply. Winning is truth. Power is truth. Might is truth. Might makes right. And that's where we are right now. What is even truth? I don't even know what you mean when you say these words to me, Asmongold.
But what I'm saying is that they're basically Republicans in a lot of cases have not been playing these emotional identity politics rhetoric games. And now that they are, because honestly, Trump is an extremely good communicator, and he's been in entertainment for a very long time. And so he knows how to manipulate and communicate with people better than almost anybody else does. And I think JD Vance does too. And so Orange Man Bad, no, he does. Like, whether you think that, like, that's why he has these rallies and everybody loves him, people are wearing his hat all the time. Like, and is it really, like, even if you think Trump is a dictator, yeah, well, people loved Stalin and they liked Lenin and they liked Saddam Hussein even. Like, a lot of people did. The entire...
They were, I don't know if they were in a post-truth era, but that is, I think that's a relative truth of human nature. It's not that dictators are truly well loved, but you have to love them. You know, you just have to love them.
All right, they like Hitler. I mean, the whole idea is, like, if you are one of these, like, dictators and really powerful people, almost every single one of them is extremely charismatic and extremely easy to follow, right? Even like the guys from
Chuckle, I understand your definition, and I'm not agreeing with you. I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you, but it's irrelevant is what I'm trying to explain. How do you tell me truth is correspondence with reality if I believe that a man can transition into a woman? You know, we are firmly in a post-truth world, and perhaps the battle or one of the battles is a battle to reestablish a baseline truth. There's a huge ideological battle that is going on right now too, outside of all the Doge stuff right there. I guess truth is a front in that battle, but in this moment, it's not about truth. It's about the battle. It's about power.
Like the terrorist organizations, like that Nasrallah, Hassan Nasrallah. He's very well spoken. He's very well spoken. He's a great communicator. And if you can't acknowledge that, you're denying reality. And that's, yeah, people are stupid. Yeah, they are. And so that's, I think, what's going on. Trump exposed the widespread corruption with Doge and ICE, yet no government official has been held accountable. I agree with you. I think it's a huge problem. But my point is that they've lost this emotional messaging war because of this shift of communications.
I think it shows a disgraceful set of priorities from congressional Democrats. We're not going to let that stand in our way. We're going to keep on doing the American people's work.
Mr. Vice President, can I get you to put your lawyer hat on for a second? Because they're pointing to one of these cases of a gentleman that they said should not have been deported from El Salvador. They said he was not connected to MS-13. What would you tell them about that case? Because they're saying that
this is a great opportunity, because a lot of people have been saying this.
This is a person that was a great member of society. You've looked at the court records. You've talked to the men and women on the ground. What can you tell us about that situation?
Well, there have been a few cases out there where the Democrats and the media say, oh, this person was just an innocent father of three. And then you find out, for example, I think this is the case that you're talking about. Back in 2019, an immigration judge looked at all the evidence, looked at all the data, and concluded that this allegedly innocent person that we sent to El Salvador was actually a member of an MS-13 gang. He had also committed some traffic violations. He had not shown up for some court dates. This is not exactly father of the year here.
I love how he threw in like the pettiest violations too. Like he was speeding and he didn't show up for court. Because again, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what he was doing while he was here. Why was he here? He's not here anymore. Good. That's really what matters. And again, this is the post-truth era. I don't care. Honestly, JD Vance was the guy who said, frankly, Margaret, I don't care.
This is
exactly traffic violations. Well, I want you to think about it like this. What happens when you send illegal immigrants to El Salvador for traffic violations? I'll tell you what's going to happen. The illegal immigrants here are going to stop violating the traffic regulations.
Yeah. Not only that, let me take you guys back in time to Springfield, Ohio, the Haitian invasion. Not only were they eating the cats, they're eating the dogs. as Trump famously said. I love that moment. That moment should go down in political history. I hope they put that moment in history books. I hope children 20 years from now will have to read about that moment in their 4th grade social studies class. During the Haitian invasion, not only were they eating the cats and the dogs and the geese and the ducks out the pond too, but they were having incredible amounts of car accidents. A lot of it was uninsured too. And because the Haitian drivers were just unaccustomed to American driving laws, and some of them just were dumbasses, it just led to a problem. You know, right now we have this CDL crisis in America with a lot of foreign H-1B truck drivers. I think there was an H-1B guy, what was it, like in Texas? He just killed a handful of people driving his truck. And it is a problem letting people just drive, you know? You can't just let anybody drive in this country. You know, we have children in some of these cars.
And less people are going to come over. You go to Singapore, you don't see a lot of people littering, do you? Yeah, send a message. Yeah, it sends a message, and it's brutal. It's brutal, and you could say that it's moral.
Yeah, American man. You want to run stop sign, and next thing you know, you're a top-ranking MS-13 member. Hey, man, that's how we giving it up now. I hope they told you that on that long march through Central America as you were crossing the border. The rules changed on your way up here, bro.
Really wrong, even. But it works.
A person that we don't think should be in our country. Here's the most important point, though, Lawrence, is whatever the argument is, whatever the justification is, no one doubts, not even the crazy left-wing media criticize the idea that we could deport this person. They just took issue with the reasoning for why we deported this person. This was unquestionably an illegal alien. This was unquestionably a person who broke the laws to get into our country. This is unquestionably a person, an immigration judge.
It's again, like, what do you think other people that are going to immigrate illegally to America and come into America illegally are thinking? Do you think that the risk of being sent to CCOT in El Salvador is going to decrease the amount of people coming over? Because I think it absolutely will. It 100% will.
Yes, yes. If you build it, we will gather up our illegal immigrants and put them in your jail. That was the conversation that Trump had with Bukele, and it's all going according to plan right now. I hear border crossings are at like a record low. We're going back to like 1930s levels of border crossings right now. Historic lows, bro.
Yeah, it sets an example, of course.
Had found had zero right to be in the United States of America. We do not ask permission.
Absolutely, it's horrifying. It is. And I think that people don't understand this about, this is one thing about Trump, is that this might sound crazy. I think Trump is a genuine fucking psychopath. I do. I think he is a 100% psychopath.
You know what, Asman? You might be right. I don't think you're right. You might be right, though. And I still voted for that. I still voted for that. You had your psychopaths. You had Obama. You had Joe was just a nincompoop. But it's about time we had a right-wing psychopath, you know? And Trump is not even all that right-wing. I just think he genuinely loves America. He wants 1980s America to come back like when he, you know, first got famous. He wants to relive his glory years, but I wouldn't mind a right-wing psychopath in office, honestly. Like, we have a long way to go before things really start to go bad. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure too far is a place we can get to eventually, but we got like 1,000 years of Reich to establish before we get to too far.
And he would do this stuff without a second of hesitation. Mafia tactics? Yes. It's scary. Yes, exactly. And yeah, agreed. Exactly. It's unpredictable. Bessom, yes, he's very, very, very good at doing this. And so to think that like they are going to put like, oh, they're going to put that past him, he absolutely would do it.
From far left Democrats before we deport illegal immigrants. We do the American people's business. And again, for the American people who are watching, this is such a weird, mistaken placement of priorities. We need to make our country.
I agree with him, by the way. I think it's very annoying to me that when a person who's like a known supporter of a terrorist organization is getting deported, you're having protests for them trying. It's like basically it's a race to the bottom to find the most morally reprehensible person and then defend them as hard as you can.
Not only that, I heard recently in California at the state level, they are attempting to pass a bill named after Luigi Mangione. Luigi. They're attempting to name a bill after the healthcare CEO shooter. And I think he went a bit too far, killing some random CEO just because I don't quite get the point of it all. But for the Democrats to name a bill after the guy who killed the CEO of a healthcare company, it kind of signals a darkness in your thought process,
Stronger. We need to create jobs. We need to make our streets safer. What is it about congressional Democrats that get more angry at deporting violent gang members than they do at the victims of those violent gang members? I don't even understand where they're coming from. They've gone off the deep end and they got to come back to reality.
I think it goes to the larger point, though, about the lawfare happening right now. It's not just the immigration cases, but pretty much everything that the executive is doing right now has been challenged in these lower courts.
Sure.
Is there a way to expedite this straight to the Supreme Court? Or do we legally have to let lower courts, make these decisions? Yeah. It goes to the appeal courts and finally it goes to the Supreme Court. People are saying the 4 years.
That doesn't have to go to a court at all. I mean, what happens if Trump just does it anyway?
Right. You can take me to court, but I'm not going to come. You can set the court date, I'll send one of my guys, but I'm going to go over here doing the thing anyway. That's what we do now. We just do the thing. Did you guys know that you can just do things? That's what the Haitians figured out when they got to Ohio and they were just geese just hanging out in the park, walking around. The geese walk right up to you if you stand still enough. And the Haitians were like, we can just do things. And so they just did things. And do you guys realize you can just do things?
Because that's what he's going to do. Even if the courts say he's not going to do it, he's going to do it anyway. And he has been. Like, am I crazy for thinking that the entire logic of the plane was outside of U.S. jurisdiction or outside of the United States boundary, which means that they couldn't turn the plane around? That's total bullshit. That's total bullshit. Like, what rule? How does any rule work like that? But he just did it anyway. It didn't matter. Yeah, it didn't fucking matter. It was an obvious setup. Yeah, as these deportations are a big show. Totally crap. I think that the show of the deportations is good for sending a message for people that would potentially come over, because if they see that a bunch of people are getting deported and sent to these super jails, they would probably be less likely to come over.
To be up by this.
Well, there are a lot of things.
Let me show you guys something that's actually kind of funny about the deportations, because whoever is in charge, you can tell Trump has a younger staff than maybe he did last time. There's some fresh blood in the White House. They have a new energy. And for the first time, I think this is correct. For the first time, the White House is engaging in an effective trolling campaign against illegal immigrants. Na, na. Hey, hey, hey. Goodbye. This is not the first time they put out a video like this. We are trolling the immigrants. We are singing goodbye songs to them as we put them on the plane to their mega prison. Hey, 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 goodbye. Hey, 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 goodbye. It'd be funny if they had that song playing at the border or at like the airport. Whatever military airport they're getting loaded onto the plane at, they should just have that on the loudspeaker. Matter of fact, they should play the Spanish version of that. I know there's a Spanish version of it. Na 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 na. Hey hey hey. Adios.
Things that we can do, not just appeals. We can limit the jurisdiction of certain courts. Even when certain courts make a ruling, say that you're not allowed to deport a person for a certain reason, we can still deport that person for another reason. So it's not like deportations have stopped. But yes, the radical courts are a problem. But our view here is we knew we were going to have this fight. We were prepared for it. We're going to litigate it all the way to the Supreme Court. We think that we're going to win. And when we do win, that will end this question permanently. Think about this. The Democrats, they're spending so many resources fighting the deportation of gang members. You have to ask, where are their priorities? But
I think this is absolutely true. Like, they've totally lost the messaging with this, where the focus is always around, defending, illegal, like, gang member migrants. Like, like, if you're finding yourself on their side, you're making a mistake.
Knew they were going to do this. We're prepared for it, Lawrence, and we're going to fight all the way to the top of the courts.
Mr. Vice President, I think about your life story. Very similar to mine as well, growing up with nothing, and now you're the Vice President of the United States.
It's a great country, man.
It is a great country. We're almost to the 100-day mark.
Yep.
We know the president has been strong on the border. We've seen almost operational control of the border at this point. We've seen the waste, fraud, and abuse being brought to light. How do you think, how would you rate this first 100 days?
Man, I think the president has done more in 100 days than almost any administration has done in 8 years. And I really think that when you consider the southern border, which was the biggest crisis that we got elected to solve, 2 months in, border crossings are almost at zero when it comes to illegal border crossings. When I think just about where I grew up, the factory closures, the fact that, friends of mine were getting their parents laid off. I talked to a lot of people who couldn't afford a home on the campaign trail. I talked to women who were worried about.
These are all the people that don't give a shit about the stock market, by the way. These are all the people that could give less of a fuck that BlackRock's portfolio went down 3%.
Price of a dozen eggs. We're making steady progress on all those issues. Yes, it doesn't happen overnight, but when you look at the hundreds of billions of dollars in new investment coming into our country, auto plants that were planned to close that are now adding shifts as opposed to closing, egg prices that are way down, gasoline prices that are way down. We're making a lot of progress, but there's still a lot left to do. And I know the president is laser focused on it. So am I.
You have become almost the fighter in chief. The president sends out a message and he puts it in bullet points for the American people. And then you go on the Sunday shows and you duke it out with them. Sometimes you duke it out with world leaders in the Oval Office as well.
I think that White House display with Zelensky, it probably played really, really well in this Rust Belt that we're talking about. Because the one thing that people really require in order to galvanize a movement is charismatic leadership. And we all kind of know that about Trump. We didn't really know that. We didn't really get a taste of that with Vance yet. And Vance he stepped up. And it was a great 1-2 combination. And honestly, to tell you the truth, ever since Vance got added to the ticket, I don't think he's missed a step yet. I think he's pretty much been on beat the whole time. And people need that.
And there's a lot of people saying about the mantle of MAGA, what happens after these 4 years. I guess this is my final question to you. Do you run for president after this? Do you, I know you want to.
He's not going to give an answer.
You're going to tell me you're going to focus on being vice president right now. But
exactly
people are wondering if we can accomplish all of this in 4 years, and they want some security in that. Is JD the man to continue the MAGA agenda?
Well, look, man, I really am just not focused on politics. I'm not focused on the midterm elections in 2026, much less the presidential election in 2028.
It's just bad politics to even answer that question right now.
When we get to that point, I'll talk to the president. We'll figure out what we want to do. But the way that I think about it is if we do a good job, the politics take care of themselves. I think
that's true. Yeah, I think as long as people feel like they're in a better spot at the end of Trump's term, they'll vote for whoever is going to continue that. Like, yeah, deliver things and make it look good. That's the only thing that matters. Okay.
If you go into the next election cycle and there are noticeably less illegal immigrants in your life, your area, you will take note of that, and you just might vote to keep it that way. Listen, there's a place I go to every day for work. There's a warehouse I have to go to, and if you're in like the industry and trucking or whatever, you probably noticed this. A lot of the warehouses are just wall-to-wall Latino. They just run the whole place, a whole crew full of Latinos. I noticed this when I started driving trucks. This warehouse that I go pick up from all the time, before the election, it was like packed. It was buzzing. After the election, it's kind of quiet in there. A lot of people just, I guess, didn't show up for work anymore. And I took note of that. And a couple of other guys that have to go there, they took note of that too. And it's a thing. And I liked it. It was a sign of good things to come.
At Wisconsin, they lost that Supreme Court thing, right? That's because abortion's a losing issue. That's the reason why. It's a 70-30 issue that conservatives are on the losing end of. Stop pushing it. That's it. Like, I'm sorry, this is just what the numbers are.
Now the abortion thing is a trickier issue. I think you're going to have to play the abortion thing regionally. If the Republicans back away from abortion on a federal level, they just make an oath like, listen, I'm not really trying to touch it right now. I got no desire to involve myself in the abortion debate. If they just go totally cold on the abortion debate and let it stay local, you can probably win in the long term. Because you can just keep applying the social pressure that's building up. But don't make a grand federal move. You already made the federal move with the Roe Wade thing, so just stay quiet on it. Let the social energies take over.
You want to win? Stop taking, again, take your own advice and stop taking 70-30, 80-20 issues. It was stupid. It was stupid to have gotten rid of Roe versus Wade. It was stupid to have not made it a federal law. And it massively set back Republicans in a tangible way, especially with women. It was a mistake.
America to be wealthy again. I want our communities to be safe again. I want us to be opening factories rather than closing down factories. I want people of my generation to be able to afford a home to raise a family in. And I want to stop all of the ridiculous wars that were started by the previous administrations. There's so much to do, man. And I don't really think that much about what happens in 3.
A lot of people are arguing we don't need Roe versus Wade. I'm pro-abortion. Even if you think abortion is medieval killing babies, the majority of the country doesn't.
I happen to think it is, but we gotta approach this issue tactfully.
And if you fixate on that issue, you'll lose not only on that issue, but you'll lose in all of the other issues too. So is it worth it to you to grandstand about this issue at the expense of not only never getting what you want with this issue, but on top of that, sabotaging other issues at the same time? I am pragmatic. I'm pragmatic. I think the answer to that is no. I think abortion is horrible. I think it's medieval. It's awful. But I think people should be able to do it. That's it. Regardless of popularity.
And see, this is when I was watching this earlier and I realized, yeah, he is a kind of a liberal. You think it's horrible, you think it's medieval, but you think people should be able to do it. No, that just doesn't work for me. And there's a lack of consistency right there. But again, from a political standpoint, I think you have to approach it delicately if you don't want to lose the gains that you've already established just now. So I hope the Republicans find better things to fight about this go around. We already had a big win. Let it play out at a more local level.
It shouldn't be federal. I think it should be. I think abortion is a human rights issue, and human rights should be decided on a federal level and not a state level. That's my opinion.
I think the fetus is a teeny tiny human. He has rights.
3.5 years. If I do a good job, if the president does a good job for the American
And by the way, keep telling me I'm wrong. That's fine. You'll keep losing. This is just an issue that most people don't fucking agree with. Sorry. Like,
we'll send them to El Salvador too. You can get your abortion there.
That's it.
People, and I know that we will. The politics will take care of itself. Let's just do a good job.
Well, when you do decide, you got to make me a promise. And it's going to be on Fox and Friends. It has to be, Mr.
We'll
Vice
talk,
President.
man. Thank you
you so much.
Yep.
We appreciate it. All right, family. Just wrapped up with the Vice President of the United States, JD Vance. I'll send it to you guys.
Good job, Lawrence. Great.
Thank you.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brad.
very good interview. Yeah, I thought it was a good interview. I think he asked a lot of the questions that a lot of people had. I'll link you guys the video as well. And yeah, the baby killers. I know people really get. You can't say separation of church and state, then turn around and federally ban abortion because of Christian values. You look like a retard at that point. The people that are saying separation of church and state are not the ones that are saying to allow abortion or ban abortion. Sorry.
I don't even try to argue abortion on specifically religious issues. I think the religious argument speaks for itself. I think if you're going to argue it, take it from other angles. I think, you know, there are other ways to apply guilt and shame. The God thing works for people who feel, you know, there's a God and whatnot. But you know, there are a lot of other people who are not quite on that spectrum, and you have to approach them from a different argument.
So, like, this is really what I think with that is that, again, I think that the sooner that conservatives and like the MAGA people and like the Trump like population, they need to move away from the abortion issue. They do. It is massively fucking polarizing. They're on the losing side of it. And at the end of the day, people are still going to get abortions. Like, it's like weed, right? I think weed is another great example. A lot of people didn't like smoking weed. They didn't like the fact that people are smoking weed.
I think weed legalization is not really the best policy either. I don't think, you know, a couple of years into it, and listen, I've benefited from it, you know what I mean? But still, I don't think it's been a great policy.
And they were very, you know, like, okay, well, we're going to make a law against it. We're going to put you in jail for smoking weed or for whatever other reason. And you know what happened? It caused Republicans and conservatives to lose over and over and over until they acquiesced and they decided, you know what? Maybe weed isn't all so bad. That's it. And so again, like my perspective with basically everything is that Trump did not lose women voters on abortion. Trump did not lose women voters on abortion. Stop being a coward and start talking about some of the drawbacks, costs of these policies. Well, I can pull you up. What do you think?
Is this audience calling him coward right now? Are you fighting your audience? It sounds like you're fighting some liberals over there, man. Must be hard.
Drawback is? What's your point? Yeah, what is the drawback that I'm not discussing? You can type it out. I'll continue this while he types it. Yeah, they're clearly not on the losing side though, and MSM just inflates it like everything else. No, actually they are. Abortion. Polling America. So this right here is the public opinion on abortion right here. And you can see that it's 60% of people, 63% of people are pro-abortion and legal in most cases versus illegal in most cases. So you see, like, obviously, you know, there are a lot of people who are religious, and this is like very much a religious perspective. But collectively, you can see.
You know what's interesting about this debate? This debate, I would imagine just how the political landscape shakes out. A lot of the people who are pro-abortion are also pro-illegal immigration. And one of the arguments for illegal immigration is that we need more people because we're not replacing ourselves, right? And I don't think it helps the replacement issue if you're just snatching the babies right out of the womb. You know, it seems like a bad long-term decision to make.
Women do, like, there are 33% of women that are against abortion. So it's not like this is a one-sided issue. But it is true that this is a massive issue for women. 63% is nothing. No, it's not. 63% is larger than the amount of people that want mass deportations. 63% is majority. 63%. Did Trump win by 63%? No, he won by a fraction of that.
Well, here's another debate to put forward for your campaign. Would you rather have your neighborhood safe, your local economy thriving, your schools happy, laughing, playing, the kids being educated properly? Or would you rather have your baby sucked out of your womb? Would you rather have people come deal with the homeless group that's camping out in your driveway? Would you rather have a nice place to take your children and the off hours on your weekends? Or would you rather have the baby sucked out of your womb? Decisions. We all got decisions.
So do you think McDonald's will keep their prices the same? No, inflation is going to cause all prices to go up. If they hire American workers, so we're going to have higher prices for more expensive labor. No, I don't think they're going to hire American workers either. I think that it's better for them to deport all of the illegals because they're not going to have any jobs because everything's going to be automated, including McDonald's. So when McDonald's is fully automated and you have two...
You know what's so funny? There's this McDonald's I drive by, like on my my way to work or whatever. And I don't often eat McDonald's, but I've been in there a couple of times for like breakfast or whatever. And it's about the only thing I can eat from the McDonald's menu is the breakfast food. But I know I went in there and the whole place was like speaking Spanish. Like while I was in there, I was the only person who spoke in English. Everybody else, the other customers, they were giving their orders in Spanish. The whole thing was in Spanish, right? After Trump got elected, that place got torn down. I think they're remodeling, but you know, I guess they figured now is a good time to, you know, start over. Let's build this thing from scratch. That whole place, the building got torn down. I swear to God, they're rebuilding it. They're going to put another McDonald's up, but that whole thing's done now.
Employees that do the work of 10, where the fuck are all these illegal immigrants going to go? Well, they're not going to go anywhere. I think they should go back to where they came from. How about that? So like this is a false dichotomy. Like I don't even think about it like that. It's not about like what's best for American workers. It's about why are these people here in the first place when their jobs are just going to get replaced anyway.
And shout out to True Hype with the $10 super chat. He says he's 100% wrong on the abortion issue as more people coming around daily because the propaganda isn't sticking anymore. In fact, if you showed the process, 80 to 90% of people changed their stance immediately. Yeah. I changed my stance, not because of a religious argument, just because of the logic of it. Once I accepted that it's a life, you are terminating a life. It is no different than a murder. How could I want murder? You know, I don't typically want murder, you know. I mean, some of these niggas got to go, but, not the babies in the womb. Jesus, we're not savages, are we? And for me, that's how it went. And it didn't even require shaming in that way. It was a logical situation. But I think, like I said earlier, you don't have to just approach it from a religious issue, from a religious standpoint. There's other ways for people to come around on the issue. And I just think that from the federal standpoint, politically, we've had a big win. And so now we need to keep arguing on the smaller battlefronts, and that's how we hold on to the win. But shout out to True Hype for the $10 Rumble chat. We're almost done. We're gonna get up out of here in a few minutes. Hit that like button for me, guys. I'm getting tired. I'm getting tongue tied. But hit the like button for me, guys. Appreciate you coming through. Thank you for supporting the show.
I need that money.
Really, and that's raises also what. Do you see what I'm saying here? Trump is powerful, but he can't prevent McDonald's from raising the cost of your cheeseburgers. Well, it doesn't matter because I get my cheeseburgers from a better place than McDonald's, number one. And number two, he also can't prevent the ongoing automation. And it's the automation that's really going to be a lot bigger than anything else. That's really where it's going to come from. Do we import beef? I don't know. I don't know about every import of everything. Who produces the automated devices? There's a bit of delay. Who produces the automated devices? It depends, right? And that's why it's important to make manufacturing here in the US. And that's why you set the foundation for that now, because in 20 years, you're going to have fully autonomous places. And you already have a few of them already. And so you start that now. Now, another good point is that you're bringing up is that other places might actually still create the devices. That's a good point, and I think it'll probably still be true. And it's not a binary thing. Slavery was popular at one time. It didn't become immoral. It always was. Labor has to produce the automations. You have poor people working the factories, man. No, poor people will not be working factories. Robots will be working factories.
I don't think automation right away. I mean, on a long enough time span, yeah, it's totally true. But I don't think the automation is going to be the huge hit that people are saying it is. It's going to be like a slower thing. And then, like, you see what's happening with, like, the port strike or whatever. There are going to be protections. The unions are going to push it off as long as they can. It's going to be something that just takes place over time.
That's just it. The entire why would poor people be working in factories whenever you could just have a machine do the same thing? It doesn't even make any sense. You can't automate a drywaller? Okay. So your argument is that because there's a handful of jobs that are harder to automate, then automation isn't going to be a massive impact on. And we weren't talking about drywalling, were we? We were talking about McDonald's, and McDonald's already has an autonomous like locations. So yeah, number one.
I witnessed this Korean restaurant a while back because I was driving by. I drove by it a couple of times, and I noticed. In the window, I saw a robot in the window, like a robot arm moving. I was like, hold up, what was that head? I stopped and kind of slowed back and looked again, and it was a robot arm in the window. So another day I went by there, and it was robot chicken. Basically, they had like a robotic arm to grab the chicken and lower it into the fryer and then collect it and all that. And I mean, it's kind of a gimmick. You didn't really need a robot for that, I suppose, but this is the wave. We are automating. Things are changing quickly. And that's pretty much the end of the Asmongold video anyway. But the automation thing is going to come. There's no way around it. But I just don't imagine like every facet of daily life being immediately just with the flip of a switch taken over by automation. We're not going to wake up in the Matrix tomorrow, but the Matrix is on the horizon. That being said, though, we got to get up out of here. I got to wrap this up. I'm tired and hungry and got to get up in the morning. Thank you guys for coming through. Shout out to everybody that supported the stream tonight, by the way. Appreciate you guys. You guys have been a really big support. We're off to a really good start, in my opinion, with this newly monetized channel. Like I said, I've been making some slight changes, new additions to the show. You see the new avatar. Thank you so much. I did get a couple of compliments on the new avatar today. I hope you guys like the changes. I wanted to make the picture this entire square. You see the whole black square on the screen right now. I wanted my avatar to take up the whole screen, but having difficulty figuring that trick out. There's something I got to figure out in order to make that work, but we'll get to that one of these days. We'll figure that whole thing out sooner or later. But we got to wrap this one up, man. I got to get out of here. Thank you guys so much for listening. Hit the like button on your way out. Appreciate you guys. Support the show. I will be back. I got to take a day off. I'm tired, but we will keep this up. Like I said, I'm going to try to keep the shows up on a regular basis. Listen, American man, you and your Black Clan avatar, bro. I'm not doing it. I'm not. Kanye did a whole interview with DJ Academics the other day. I don't even want to touch it. Kanye is like radioactive right now. He's like the Black Fuentes, and I'm not trying to get Fuentes. I don't need that heat right now. But I will catch you guys later, man. You guys have a good night. Peace out.
It's done. It's done. It's done. It's done. It's done.